On this episode 138. Yeah, 138. I'm going to talk about Parmies, elections, and indecisiveness. So, let's get into it, everybody. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Luke Who's Talking podcast with probably the top of my head cut off if you're watching. Actually, I wonder... Bear with me. How's that? Yeah, we'll get rid of this. Look at my makeshift camera stand. I'll just put that up there. Now, let's get into it. Now, let's start off with Parmies. An absolute pub classic. Don't mind a Parmy. I had a good one last week, and it was a, quote, meat lover's Parmy. Oh, so if you don't know what a Parmy is, basically it is... could I say butterflied chicken breast, crumbed with stuff on top, right? So it's schnitzel plus, right? And, they'll have, you can get like a, quote, Hawaiian one. It'll have pineapple on it or whatever one it'll have. Anyways, I had a barbecue one the other week and I was intrigued because I thought, what does the barbecue parmy have on it? This is what the barbecue parmy had. Had barbecue sauce. Not a surprise. Had barbecue sauce. It had ham on it. And it had salami. Which I've been told that the salami is what makes it barbecue. Sorry. Yeah, barbecue. No, meat lovers. That's what it was. The salami is what makes it meat lovers. Because parmies generally have ham on them. Yeah, they do. But... the salami is what made it a meat lover's parmy. So, but I was intrigued. I thought, what is the barbecue? No, what is the meat lovers? Why am I saying barbecue? I'm looking at my notes. I'm just saying barbecue right in my face for meat lovers. I was like, what does the meat lover's parmy have? The meat lover's parmy. What makes it meat lovers is salami, apparently. I was like, will it have like bacon on it or something like that? But no. God, I love a parmy. God, I like parmy and chips, classic, like pub meal thing. Oh, my goodness. I'm hankering for a parmy right about now, actually. I should probably have one. Or should I have a schnitzel? Because a parmy it's a glorified schnitzel, if we're honest with ourselves. Maybe I could make a better meat lover's parmy. You could put your tomato sauce on. Your barbecue sauce on, sure. But maybe pulled pork on that. Maybe beef instead. Maybe beef on there. Maybe some bacon. Maybe ham. Maybe salami. Maybe all of it. Cheese on, and you just grill it to an inch of its life. Serve it up. Gravy as well, because why not? Heck. Oh, my goodness. My goodness. Anyway, let's get into the next story. So elections. How exciting are elections? So we had a federal election not long ago, a couple of months ago, 2 months ago maybe. Uncle Albo swept into power. Anyway, now last year, a little bit over a year ago, about 14 months ago, there was a state election where I live in my state, but because of shenanigans, should I say, there has been another one thrust upon us. So this is how it went down. This could be interesting for international listeners. I don't know if this sort of thing happens where you live, if it can even happen where you live in regards to like how your government is structured. But basically what happened was there was a vote of no confidence in the Premier. So the opposition leader, during his budget reply speech, tabled... Actually, no, he didn't table. He floated the idea, or he said that he would table a motion of no confidence in the Premier if he had the support of the crossbench. So floated the idea. Anyway, a couple of days went past. It might have been actually the next day. And the crossbench said, yeah, we'll back it. Like, let's debate it. So there was 2 days, 1.5 days of debate. And then there was a vote on said vote of no confidence. Now, I will say that the incumbents do not have a majority. I think they're 4 short of a majority. So they are working with crossbench MPs so they can get legislation, etc., through the Parliament. So that's fine. Now, what had happened was one of the crossbenchers they were working with flipped and voted with the opposition, but this created a draw or a tie, so tying the vote. Now, what happens in that case is the Speaker has the casting vote. Now, this is an interesting one. So the Speaker is a member of the opposition party. The reason for that is of course, the government, or the largest party of the government, of course, need all their MPs on the floor to vote for legislation, etc. So they didn't put one of their members up to be the Speaker because that would lose them, theoretically, a vote on the floor. Anyway, so the opposition had somebody up for Speaker, and of course the Speaker, having the casting vote, unsurprisingly voted in favour of said motion. And as a result, kind of shenanigans happened. So the Premier went to see the Governor to ask for an election. However, the Governor said no, because the Governor, like in these sort of circumstances, considering there was an election not long ago, wants to avoid one at all costs. So the Governor then invited the opposition leader to converse to see if they wanted to form a government. And they said no. So then a day or two later, the Premier went back to the Governor and said, you've got to give us an election. So the Governor said yes. And the government have been carrying on about, this election's been forced onto us. Now, I am going to say no on that, because there is at least 2 steps they could have taken. One of which I'm not sure if they took. One of them they didn't take, but there's at least 2 steps they could have taken to avoid an election. So my thought is, well, they have done nothing to avoid it. They had options. So, yeah. Now, what they could have done is, I think the first thing they could have done, now I'm not saying they didn't do this, but my understanding is they didn't, and that is to get one of the crossbench independent MPs on side, or just made sure they had the numbers so they could have voted for the no confidence motion to not pass. So there would have been enough against. They only needed 1 extra vote, and it wouldn't have gone anywhere. So I'd have thought if you were a government, you'd be like, well, better get on the phones, shore up support. My understanding is didn't happen. So that is one thing they could have done, which they didn't. Another thing that could have happened is, because the vote was in the Premier, what could have happened is he could have resigned as the leader of his party. They could have then elected a new leader, which then the Governor could have appointed Premier. And we could have continued on for a bit longer. But that didn't happen either. So there's at least 2 things that could have happened that, or 2 steps that could have been taken, which weren't. And as a result, we're having a election. And it would be tomorrow for those of you out there whom are listening. Now, I have already gone and voted. I won't tell you who I voted for, but I'll tell you what, the incumbents may have been down the list a little. So there's 30 31 candidates, if I recall, in my electorate. So what I have done the last actually couple of elections, and including this one, is number every box. Now, I only have to number 7, but I did all 31 boxes because that is the best use of my vote. It exhausts it completely. And so I am 100% sure of where my vote is going and how it's being redistributed. So especially if we have like preferential, kind of voting, I think, it says, you only need to say vote number 7 boxes, 1 to 7. But I think if you do all of them, there's no ambiguity. You're absolutely, making full use of your vote. So, yeah. Anyway, shenanigans. I think the polls suggest that it's pretty much going to be status quo. The incumbents will be around the same. They may actually gain 1 seat, but I think it'll be about the same. So if that is the case, and all of us in like similar MPs, similar crossbench independents get elected, I am not sure how they could possibly support the incumbents if they get re-elected or win the most seats. I'm not sure how that moves us forward, because I don't think if you're one of these independents and you have voted for the motion of no confidence, there's been now an election. If you're re-elected as the independent, surely you cannot work with, or you cannot agree to support the Premier because you have voted no confidence in him. So, yeah, that is interesting. The opposition don't really look like they're going to pick up any extra seats, so they are further away from governing. So that could be interesting, but I don't know. It's interesting. I think there's a big issue in the state at the moment, which I think it's been a dog, and I've been dubious about it's actually happening fully in any context, but it may be dumped as a condition to govern. Maybe we will see. Anyway, I'll give you an election update next time. Maybe if I remember, I don't know. Anyway, let's get into the last story. Now, I want to talk about indecisiveness, because I think I'm a bit of an indecisive, Ari person at times. I think, though, that said, if I'm like forced, pushed, maybe, I think I'm kind of okay after that initial sort of yep, but I need a bit of a force into it, I guess, some things. So I was just thinking about this recently because last year, actually, some friends of mine made me an offer, and the offer's good. Like, I've got there's no problems with the offer. It is a solid offer. It is a good offer. It is a kind offer. I've not taken up the offer, and I'm kind of like, I probably should take the offer or act on it in some meaningful way, but I haven't. And I'm sort of like, I'm not sure why. I think maybe it's because I'm sort of comfortable with where I'm at. I don't necessarily need to take the offer, but in some aspects I feel like I probably should take the offer. So it's an interesting kind of brain situation to be with. Maybe I'm just making it more of a issue, if I could use that term, than what it is. And it is not an issue at all. But yeah, so I'd like just indecisiveness on things, which is a bit annoying or frustrating. So if anybody out there is an indecisive person or has been indecisive in the past, how do you get around that? How do you move on from that? How do you make a decision and follow through with it? How do you do that? Answers on a postcard. Anyway, everybody, I have been waffling. The middle bit was just like, political drama. Let's warm the computer back up and wrap it up. Well, everybody, look, thank you very much for listening to this episode of the podcast. I'm recording this on a Thursday. I usually do it, of course. Religious listeners will know probably like on the Sunday, also before release day, but that's not the case. That is not the case at all this week. So I'll be burning the midnight oil to get this out for you tomorrow at lunchtime. So I hope you enjoy it when it comes out. If you don't, I mean, it's free. What do you expect? Anyway, everybody, have a good time. Have a good weekend. Have a good week. Have a good fortnight. Have all the fun stuff. And I will catch you, see you, talk to you. You'll hear me next time. Thank you very much.